Hi everyone and welcome to another video. Today we're reviewing a notebook from the Australian brand Greenwood, based here in Melbourne. This is their, I suppose, their signature book, if you will. Lovely, nice, soft cover note book. Embossed on the back with Greenwood. I think it's a really nice logo they've got, and in fact, when you buy the book you get a sticker with that exact logo, and I think it looks cool. It's a lovely green soft cover with an elastic band for closure and a green bookmark ribbon. And I've personalised mine with a pen loop inside, just a basic stick-on pen loop, so that I can carry a pen with me when I take this book around. And this book has travelled with me for the last few weeks pretty consistently, and as you can see, it's held up really well to the abuse that it's copped sort of in my bag, and as I've been sort of taking it around to rehearsals and meetings and daughter's ballet classes and all these sorts of things. So they promote this book as being fountain pen friendly, and in my opinion it's actually one of the most fountain pen friendly books that I've tried recently, for a number of reasons, and we'll go into that when we look at the writing samples. Now, I got it in the grid, square grid form. They do lined, blank and square grid. They don't yet do a dot grid, but if enough people show interest they may look into doing that, I suppose. These are sort of lightly printed in sort of either a dusty blue, sort of grey sort of colour, and they're not obtrusive at all. The paper is off-white, almost sort of ivory cream. It's stitched and glued and in the binding, and as you can see it lays pretty flat. There's a couple of spots where the gluing or stitching has sort of stopped it from being completely flat, but for the most part this book sits beautifully on the desk. The paper is smooth. It's not a waxy smooth like, say, Clairefontaine or Rhodia, but it's absolutely smooth, and it is beautiful to write on. And as we can see from the tests here I've done in the back, firstly, inks look great on this paper, but they perform really well too. There's no feathering, and I've tried this in a number of different pens with a number of different sort of nib options and inks and all these different variations I could possibly come up with, and it held up really, really well. So as you can see, I've got everything from Aurora black ink, which is very wet, through to sort of Lamy turquoise and Diamine red dragon, which I find to be a little bit dry at times. That's in a 1.5mm nib. Pelican 4001 black, Mont Blanc inks, and even a Sailor Fude nib with the Sailor black ink, which I decided to give this paper a bit of a trial with. So if we flip over, you can see there's even more inks, more Noodler's 54th in a 1.5mm, a whole range of Blackstone inks from a review that I was doing of those, Franklin Christoph, the Aurora Blue Black in a Lamy medium, and then Diamine Syra in a Sailor Music nib, which I decided to really test the paper out on. Because the paper is smooth, ink does take a little bit of time to dry, as you can see from the spotting on the other side of the page, but what we don't get is terribly much bleed at all. 54th pokes through, but that'll poke through just about anything, and not even the Sailor Fude nib really came through. There's a little bit of ghosting, but nowhere near as much as, say, Leuchtturm. This paper performs a lot like Rhodia, but it doesn't have that sort of waxy finish which stops some particularly smooth pens from writing consistently on. You get shading from inks, as you can see from sort of Robert Oster inks, and a range of the Blackstone inks and the Monteverde Canyon Rust, some nice shading there. It just performs really, really well. Now, how did it hold up to Diamond Sire in the Sailor Music nib. I have to say that's pretty awesome. Like, there's no bleed from a heavy colouring swatch there, where, you know, we sort of did multi passes over the page, and with a wet nib, broad nib, and nothing. And diamond inks aren't dry inks, so that's quite an impressive feat from this paper. So I've spoken a lot so far about what I love about the notebook. What don't I love? Well, there are two things I would like to see, and none of them pertain to this particular book, because I love it. I love the soft cover. I love the strength of that elastic band. It's sturdy. The whole book is well made. The paper performed beautifully. The grid is really well produced. What I would like to see is this company be able to expand. This is a really good brand, an Australian brand, and I think if they were able to expand the business into hardcover notebooks, into a dot grid, things like bullet journaling, these books would be absolutely ideal. With the strength and the sturdiness of this soft cover, you could use this as a bullet journal, an everyday carry book without any hesitation. Another thing I really love, and as you find with a lot of soft covers, is that there is no hangover from the cover to the pages, and that's only really possible with books where the cover is sturdy and strong enough to actually be able to support those pages without them becoming too damaged. And as I said, this has been thrown in bags, it's been carried on public transport, it's been thrown in my car, it's been everywhere with me, and I just really love it. So I cannot talk too highly about this notebook. What we're going to do is we're going to do a quick writing sample in the book, just so you can get a sense of the paper and how it writes. And I'm going to be doing that with a TWSBI Diamond 580 medium nib, and the ink in this is Robert Oster Green Lime. I really like this green. I chose my favourite green, at the moment my favourite green, seeing as it's Greenwood Classics notebook, and another Australian brand, and this pen is quite smooth, and you can hear just that slight little bit of tooth on the page. I like that. It's smooth, but it's got just that little bit of feedback, just so you know you're writing on the page, and just enough for the pen, even a really smooth nib, to be able to grip, to be able to write nice and consistently. As I said, the paper isn't super absorbent, so we do get a bit of, wet inks do take a little bit longer to dry. But in saying that, you get that with Rhodia, you get that with Leuchtturm, and because it has that sort of slightly less absorbent paper, it allows for things like shading, for ink to pool slightly, and you can get some lovely colour effects with the ink. I haven't got a lot of sheen from inks on this paper. A couple of these inks, particularly, let's look at the Blackstone inks. Blue Cypress, for instance, here is normally one of the highest sheening inks that I've tried, and you get a couple of little spots of it where the ink pools, but really not much at all. And I don't find that necessarily to be a problem when I'm taking notes on the run, when I'm having board meetings and things like that. Do I really want the ink to sheen? Well, it's not high on my list of priorities, but the ink does perform beautifully on this paper. So, yes, I love this notebook. I really like the brand. I like the fact that they're Australian, that they're engaged in the community, that they're socially conscious, all those sorts of things. Get behind this company. The bigger they get, the more options they might be able to produce. As I said, a hardback and a dot grid would be fabulous. But for an everyday carry notebook, for meetings, for taking notes on the run, this book is fabulous. So that is the Greenwood notebook, and yeah, I love it. If you found this video useful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications button if you want to stay up to date with the videos that I produce. Please feel free to drop me a message with any products or questions or information you'd like to pass on, and you can do that either here on YouTube or at my blog on Instagram or Twitter, and I'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, enjoy your pens, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you later.